Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Art of Thriving podcast. I am your host, Tanavella, and I must say it has been so wonderful to see the subscription count increasing and the listens count soaring over the past few weeks, despite having an unexpected hiatus. So I just want to say thank you for the continued support and tuning in here and sharing the episodes and spending your time and energy by doing that. It honestly means so much and is so incredibly affirming. I also want to thank you for your patience in waiting for the release of this episode with the few-week gap in between this and the last one. I've been in a bit of a transitionary period with moving house, with upgrading technology, which has its own learning curve. And I've just gotten back from a week on the water with the whales, which I will talk about in coming episodes. So thank you again for bearing with me in this beautiful, fresh learning period of this podcast. But I'm really excited to introduce today's guest to you today, Carmella King, who is a dear sister of mine. And I also, a couple of weeks ago, had the privilege of painting her portrait of her and her baby daughter for the Archibald Hidden Faces Salander Refuses Victorian exhibition. So I am currently looking at that right now while I am recording this for you. And yeah, this conversation was really, really potent, particularly for anyone who is planning on conceiving a child one day, whether that is in the near or distant future. So Carmela is devoted to supporting women in reclaiming their body's innate cyclical wisdom. She is the founder of Ritu Ayurveda, which is a school of Ayurvedic wisdom and rune care. And she is a qualified Ayurvedic women's health counselor, guiding women through all seasons of health with a specific focus on menstrual wellness, fertility, womb care, and the preconception window that is so incredibly sacred and important. There is so much gold in this episode, and it's also a really beautiful perception shift for everyone and anyone who wants to have children, no matter where you're at on your pregnancy or conception journey. It's also a great one for fathers to listen to as well. And before we dive in, just a quick message from today's sponsor. Yoni Pleasure Palace is the world's leading alternative sexual wellness company. Their mission is to support everyone and anyone to enjoy the full spectrum of their orgasmic potential, have strong pelvic floors, and to feel empowered in their sexuality. Check them out for pleasure wands, yoni eggs, waterproof sex blankets, and feminine wellness products. These products are beautifully crafted and ethically made. And if you're desiring to connect with your cervix before beginning your pregnancy journey or even during, I highly recommend checking out the cervix serpent. And you can use the code LIBERATE with Hannah for 10% off. And without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome, Carmela, to the Art of Thriving podcast. I'm so glad that we could, do this through the online sphere together today.
Yeah, thank you so much, my love. I'm so happy to be here.
To kick us off, I'd love to just do a quick little check-in. How are you feeling in your body? Also being halfway through your pregnancy. Yeah, how's everything going today?
Yeah, I'm feeling really, really deep today. Really like center of, Mercury in retrograde, middle par. Feeling really deep in my body and soft, quite open. Yeah, feeling my baby just feels so nice to feel it swimming around there.
Yeah, can't wait to meet them.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Water energy. I can really feel it moving in the waters of my womb at the moment. Starting to get those movements. So.
It's amazing. I think the last time I saw you, you were having visions of your potential 3 babies, and you were sharing that you felt like it was really soon, and that, that the next little being would be joining you. And so, yeah, so amazing to feel that is well and truly on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that moment that we were together after your workshop that you did with the waters, that I, had that beautiful journey with your guided meditation and got to really meet my babies standing there with the waters, and that beautiful moment that moved me to tears. I really feel like after that was like the time where my baby was like, okay, it's time now to open that up and we conceived the next month. So
Wow.
yeah, it's like when your baby is communicating that to you, it's like, okay, it's ready now to open this up. So that was a huge, huge moment that last time I saw you. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember feeling that so alive in your heart. It's been, I'm just like, for those listening, really reflecting on the moment that I first met you and just feeling the evolution of you and us and myself in that time and how incredible it is. Like we met at Seven Sisters and you had your beautiful little silk fashion label. And so yeah, and I remember just hitting it off straight away and being like, oh, who is this woman? Yeah. And then we started to come into closer orbit. But for those who are listening who don't know you, yeah, could you share a little bit about your backstory from that, or yeah, those origin moments of discovering your fashion label, that freedom that gave you, and how that sort of has led you into the work that you are doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that seems like a lifetime ago now, but it was such a big part of my journey, my whole fashion label. And so basically it started from when I was in Nepal. I was backpacking around for a couple of years really in Asia, and I always loved like designing and like the feeling of beautiful materials on my skin. I always loved playing around with my own clothes. And I just met this man in his store in Nepal, and I explained, how much I loved doing all that. And he was like, well, why don't you start a business? Why don't we make the clothing that, you want to wear? And you can also like see some of the clothing that we make and, go and sell it in Australia. And I was like, wow, I've never considered that. But I think I was backpacking. I was like 24, 23 or 24. I had like $450 to my name, maybe. And I was meant to spend, I mean, I did spend, I still had a couple of months to go being in India after that to do yoga teacher training. And I I remember going back to my hostel that night and just being like, what is this huge opportunity that just feels so right in my body? And I was meditating and I was like, all these things were coming up. Like, you don't have money to start a business. You don't know what you're doing to start a business. Like, you 24, you're a backpacker. Like, what are but I had been in retail my whole life before that. So I did understand some, parts of the trade. Um, and I just thought, I think the gift of being at that age is you really don't have as much to hold you back. I was like, well, I'll just spend the last bit of money that I have on what stock I can get. Those were the days where Instagram was just opening. So I was like, I'll just get my beautiful friends to take photos of these clothing and I'll put it on Instagram and I'll go to the markets. And that was really all I thought into it. That was it. And it started on such a whim, but a really good feeling in my body.
Mm.
Um, and, yeah, like, so I really simplified it into that way in those days, which is just the beauty of that age and that feeling. It was really born out of that feeling of like, I've been traveling for a couple of years and I can do anything. Like I feel freedom, and it really came from a feeling of freedom in my body. So I spent like pretty much all the little bit of money that I had on a box of stock. And that's how it started when I was back in Australia a couple of months later. And I went to a market and, I just like sold that one rack of stock, put that on Instagram and created my own online store through many, many hours of, trial and error.
Mm.
Yeah, I really just went for it.
Mm.
And I'm so grateful because it um it really tumbled and just built itself up into something that then allowed me to travel the world and support myself at home in Australia. It really allowed me to to pay for my needs, my rent, my food, my life. So I'm so grateful that, I took that huge chance on something just from a deep feeling of, yeah, this is right in my body. And really having that faith to follow a good feeling, follow the excitement, follow the charm in like a lot of Vedic circles that I study with and meditate with. We call it following the charm. And the charm is the feeling that you get in your body when something is exciting and you're like, I don't know why, but I have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's like the way that, spirit is pulling you into the next part of your evolution. So now I know it was like just a huge charm moment of my life.
Got a whole episode on that actually, on follow excitement. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And what, because I remember the moments where you were starting to process letting go of the label. And like, obviously it was such a huge part of yourself for so many years as well. I'm trying to remember whether or not you felt at the time this new calling emerging and that was what was pulling you out of it, or if you were just feeling that you needed to let it go and create space and then figure out what was next.
Yeah. When, 8, 9 years later, when I did eventually let go of it, I really feel that it was because I was in a different chapter of my life in a different era. By that time that I actually did let go of it, I had already been studying Ayurveda for years. I was already working as an Ayurvedic therapist. I was already working with women in that way. And I was about to have a baby. Like I knew I was stepping into motherhood as well, which is when I stopped and it just lay dormant for like a good year or two. And then I was like, okay, it's time to move this on because I'm a mother now. Like I don't actually have the energetic space or the physical space, the time to carry both my passions of Ayurveda and having a clothing label in the way that I want to be able to give like my full energy into both of those. And also be a mother of a, at the time, like a 1-year-old, which is a lot of time and energy. It felt really good to pass that on, coming from a space of fullness and wholeness, because I was so excited to move into other passions of my life.
Yeah. And why Ayurveda? Yeah, why Ayurveda?
Yeah, I know. At the start, I was like, how am I all of a sudden studying this thing? And I love it. I didn't even know anything about it before. I was a yoga teacher. And, Ayurveda and yoga go hand in hand. They're sister sciences. One is the practice and one is the medicine. And yeah, I was in Nepal, actually, come to think about it. Yeah, it's obviously a place where, my expansion is really opening me to opportunities. And the first thing was that there was an Ayurvedic massage course, and I knew I wanted to do body work. This is back in 2018. And so I just took this Ayurvedic massage course because it felt good. Like it felt like my heart was like, do that one. The charm was there. And as soon as I started doing that type of body work and Ayurveda, and it opened me up into the bigger world of Ayurveda, I was like, whoa, I have a passion for studying this thing and going so deep in this thing. Like it really was the passion for the study in those first years that I was like, I just need to keep following this because I couldn't get enough of it, like different courses and different just like self-study, and just became so inspired to implement it into my life. So I really feel it was a deep soul calling. Now that I work in Ayurveda and it's so incorporated into my life, I'm like, okay, there's been this has been here before. Like my soul has been here before.
I see that in you. Yeah. And for those who aren't familiar, what is Ayurveda?
Yeah. So Ayurveda, in its most, like, I guess, its form of definition, is that it's a medical system, a natural medicine system of India. So it's an ancient system that is really the oldest medicine system recorded on the planet. There's recordings and writings of it from 5,000 years ago. And it's even older than that, because we know that that is only when it was documented, and it was being practiced even further ago than that. So it's over 5,000 years old, which means it's so deeply rooted in ancient wisdom. And this wisdom of the earth that is ancient. Like I said, it's a natural medicine system. So it is about us connecting with the earth and understanding at its very baseline level. It's understanding we are part of this earth. We actually are this earth. We are this environment. We are these elements. It's based off the elemental system. People have probably heard of the doshas. And all the doshas are is just a way that the elements play within our body. And we can make patterns out of that can support us in our healing and in our health and our wellness. But it's basically looking at the environment as a whole, and our bodies being a part of that environment and a part of the earth. So that's a very, like, I guess, theoretical look of it. And then within that, there's like, okay, so there's a big focus on herbs, there's a big focus on diet, there's a big focus on lifestyle, your practices, what you're doing, how are you bringing your body into wholeness. There's a saying in Ayurveda that's actually not even a saying, it's written in the scriptures. It's that all illness comes from a disconnection with the soul. So it's that we've disconnected us from our soul self. So it's like everything in Ayurveda, if we start to look at it from the sides of imbalance or disease or anything like that, it's saying the very, 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 very root cause of that, if you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, whether it's the decisions that you're making or the way you're treating your body that's bringing that disease on, and the emotional reasons you're doing that, whatever it is, that is coming from an absolute seed root cause of us being disconnected from Atman, our soul self, our universal self.
I would 100% agree with that, with, the countless kinesiology sessions I've done, and just understanding and feeling what reveals itself as a metaphysical root to a physical ailment or illness every single time. It's, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's like this metaphysical root is so not considered in our, Western medical system. And I think that when you look at every ancient culture and their medicine systems, they all share that understanding. There is that metaphysical root that you talk about, and every natural therapy that we move into, it all honors this very metaphysical root. And the metaphysical root is, that what I just mentioned is that disconnection from our soul self, from the Atman. And we really don't consider it in, the medical, like the modern medical system. And that's why I love working with women in Ayurveda, because it's like, yeah, there's a level where I can share with you that these herbs will support you, and the reasons why, because of like bringing in more or less heat, or bringing in more or less unctuousness, or, I can tell you all these physical parts, and I can share, and I do share with people, those on a level of like diet, what could support you. But when I work with people, the juice of where we want to get to and what it's always centered in is like, where does this actually stem from within you? Like, where does this, if we're looking at an imbalance, or, a sister is having a lot of pain in her bleed, or, having challenges with conceiving. We work with a lot of people with, when they're on their conception journey, and or it can be really small things as well, like actions that I'm taking that I can't let go of. Like I can't just stop. It's almost like an addiction. It's like, okay, where is that coming from within you? It's coming back to this term that we use, which is called swasta, which means, we are whole in our self. It's the term for health, and it's also the term for being situated in that universal self. So that's why I love Ayurveda, because it's like we can look at the earth and what she provides for us, for our ailments and for our healing, and connect with her and her medicines and her herbs and her foods and her fruits that she offers us. And then that can actually lead us back to a journey of wholeness. That leads us back to that journey of wholeness, and the deeper inner self-inquiry that needs to take place is just a part of the medicine and the treatment that we don't see in Western health systems.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's like instead of treating symptoms, going that much deeper and seeing like what's the why underneath the symptom. It's beautiful. And you've chosen to focus quite strongly on supporting women with their preconception journey. And there's so much here I kind of want to pick your brain about, but I'd love just first to start, like, why is that important? Because as I was sharing with you before, I was having a conversation recently with a sister where I was sharing that as a concept, like preparing the body before even trying to conceive. And that was a completely new concept. So yeah, for our listeners, I'd love to inquire about that.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm so lit up by this phase of life, like this era of womanhood that is this time before we conceive, and especially this time where we're like stepping towards motherhood. That very last parts of the maiden. It's such a huge time for women, and it really lights me up to be walking with women in that part of their journey. And the why is like there's one part which I won't go so much into now, which is very simple and obvious. It's like, okay, why? Because we want to prepare our bodies in the best way we can for pregnancy, for the obvious reasons of like having the healthiest tissues that we can for our baby to form from. Your body, the tissues of the mother actually become your baby's body, becomes your baby's organs, your its nervous system. The emotions that the mother is experiencing through pregnancy become the emotions of the baby. And it's that first emotional landscape that the baby will know. Are your baby's first home. It makes so much sense to prepare your body, take that time to prepare your body in a way that is going to give your baby, the best tissues that you can in that moment. It's not about perfection, but it's about like, I take this as a responsibility. Like, I take this as a big deal. It is. I want my baby to have a healthy life, and I can give it a head start. I can give it the best that I can give it in this time. I can take 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, whatever it is. Or even if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh, but I feel like we're going to open that window in only 2 months. Like, great, start now, like any time you can give from your conscious mind and from your heart is so valuable. So there's that aspect of, obviously, we want to create a home, our first home for our baby that is nourished, healthy, supported, an emotional, and a mental landscape that has the capacity to to feel centered and to have these tools that are going to regulate, you're going to need to regulate yourself in your nervous system, especially during pregnancy and birth, because they're such big initiations. Obviously we want to work on our fertility because we would love to conceive our baby in a timely manner. I think everybody, when you want that, you really want it when you feel it in your body. And so working with fertility from a place of health and wellness is a no-brainer when you really think of it. Like, yeah, of course I want to prepare my body for that.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask your opinion, because I think a big part of the conversation that also isn't had is like the significance and the importance of the father also being preparation. And I think my mum was sharing with me the other day, and correct me if you know if this is true or not, but it's my understanding that the placenta, like the father's DNA, is responsible for the health of the placenta. And obviously it's like half of the makeup of the being. So it makes sense that you would want to prepare. But morning sickness could be tied to like the men's health as well, I heard.
Yeah. It can be tied to the men's health and the health of the placenta as well. And there is a lot of different information about where, morning sickness comes from in particular. But definitely, the father's role is like, it is just as important as the mother, because it is the health of his sperm basically is like half of that baby. Once a baby is conceived, and it's like, okay, we sort of do focus on the mother's needs after that, because she is the environment and the emotional, mental environment that baby is receiving. But yeah, in preconception, like the father's health is just as important. If people have a partner that are willing to go on that journey with them, then that is so amazing. That are willing to take that time to do a cleanse, to look at their health, look at their habits, and be like, okay, is this what I want to? This is my moment. This is my period of time where I can really make some choices that align with the health of my baby, and support my partner in that way. Because some morning sickness, it is believed, is tied to the health of the placenta, which is tied to the health of the sperm instead of health. And I like to explain as well that, in Ayurveda, we do also understand, if we're on the topic of morning sickness, that morning sickness can often come from, there's an overload, the hormones that are being raised within the mother in that first trimester go up so quickly. It's like when you see a graph of it, it's like there's conception and then the hormones are like, so the body can have a difficult time processing those hormones, especially if the liver is very overheated, very clogged. We understand, like we know in women's health, that the liver has a lot to do with a woman's menstrual cycle, because all of the hormones that move through a woman's body are processed through the liver. That liver is stagnant. We can hold a lot of rage and anger. The liver is a very hot organ. So if we are holding a lot in the liver and we haven't, that's why liver cleanses are really great before conception as well, when you pair it with the rebuilding time after it. All the hormones need to be processed through the liver. So when the liver is having a hard time, it's sort of, it can leak out into the rest of the body. And that's what brings morning sickness. It's like the body is not necessarily dealing with that huge influx of hormones very well. And it's very connected to liver health too.
Wow, that's so good to know.
Yeah.
I'm just also tracking like times where I've had a little bit more of like a dull ache during my menstrual cycle. If I track the intensity of the feeling on a physical level, I can always feel it kind of linking into like anger, or like, the hurt that sits underneath anger in my heart and in that solar plexus area. And then so that's really cool to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, especially when we start to talk about the liver, is like, wow, it is the seat of emotions. We literally call it like the storehouse of the ghosts. And there's a Sanskrit term for it that's like we hold a lot of our emotions and our past stuff in our liver. And so it's like, yeah, when you do go start working with the liver in a really conscious way, a lot can come up, a lot of generational, a lot of ancestral stuff as well that's being held there. It's really such a storehouse. And yeah, in terms of morning sickness, it's like the liver health does play a really big part as well. But I also want to flag, like, whenever I speak about that, or I speak about morning sickness, or I do also want to flag that, like, sometimes you'll just have the experience that you're meant to have. I really believe in pregnancy as well. So it's like if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh, but I had like such terrible morning sickness, oh, does that mean like I didn't take care of my liver or my body enough? It's like, no, like it maybe, but sometimes we also just have that experience that we're meant to have. Like there's always a soul level that is playing out with that. I hope I've communicated that in the right way. Is like, yeah, I guess I just like don't want to share those things that can make
it's not as textbook.
It's like, yeah. It's like it can sound really textbook, and then sometimes it's not as textbook as we want it to be. There is a level of like the soul needs to experience something, and sometimes that is the initiation of really bad, morning sickness in the first trimester. And sometimes it's having none. Like with this pregnancy, I had no morning sickness, and I was really surprised. I did not have a bit of nausea all first trimester. And it's like, okay, yeah, that could be because I work a lot on my own preconception and my own health. That could also be my soul. That's what my soul needed to experience this time. So you always look at those counterparts. Fun. It's textbook, and it can be heady and intellectual, and it's also like you're having an experience always that your soul needs to have.
I feel it's interesting. I wanted to ask, for myself, doing a lot of work with women with different womb ailments like polycystic ovaries or endometriosis or vaginismus. So there are patterns that I have noticed, like certain imprints or beliefs that go along with each condition that's usually like stored in the subconscious of the body. It's funny off the back of, obviously it's not textbook and it's different from everybody, but I'm curious, is there anything that you've noticed or you've found particularly interesting in this way? Obviously everybody is completely unique and different. I really want to emphasize that. But yeah, within your own discovery, has there been things that have stood out with, common things that people might struggle with and what they could maybe consider on an emotional soul level?
You mean in terms of like conception?
Yes, sorry. In terms of conceiving, pregnancy, preparing for birth. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, yeah, it's so big. I will speak to one thing that I think is so big for all of those parts within the psyche of women and within, our cultural psyche as well. And that is like, if we can't, and I guess this is a general principle of women's health as well, is like, if we can't slow down and we can't take time to connect to those deeper parts of our body and our cyclical nature, then it's pretty common that something pops up within all of those phases, conception or pregnancy or birth, like that's, like you said, there's so many things that women could like every woman is so different, and there is a lot of different aspects of each woman's journey that's really unique. But one thing that I just see time and time again, like the overarching thing that is really hard sometimes for women to address is that like that need to always be in productivity and to be running so fast, keeping up with society and keeping up with everything. And then that playing out within menstrual imbalances, all these challenges that we talk about, endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, even just menstrual pain, pain and discomfort, and fertility challenges like long, fertility journeys. And if it hasn't caught up with us by then, and we do get into pregnancy at some point, it will come up to the surface and it will express itself within the body. And that is through symptom or through uncomfort and imbalance. It's just that sacred messenger of the body of like, hey, slow down into your rhythm. You have a rhythm. What is it? What's your rhythm as a woman? What's your cyclical rhythm? What's your cyclical nature? And so, yeah, I think that's the thing that I see the most all round is the way that will come up at some point and express itself.
That's a really beautiful, that encompasses so much. It was really gold, actually. Yeah. And that actually leads me to the next question that was lingering was, I'd love if you could speak into your understanding from an Ayurvedic lens and also your own personal anecdote, but the nervous system's relationship with this. Yeah, our own relationship with our nervous system and then how that impacts these phases.
Yeah. And the nervous system has a huge, huge impact on these phases of womanhood. If we're talking about fertility and we're talking about, wanting to conceive a baby, I mean, something that is so pivotal that I really wish women knew is that you can do all the work with food and herbs and supplements and taking all these things in that you want, but if you're not doing nervous system work and your body is in a state of fight or flight and you're not actually going into that parasympathetic and having that ability to adapt the nervous system between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, because we know it's not just about being calm and grounded all the time. It's about the adaptability and the resilience of the nervous system. And that's what, true nervous system regulation is, right? So if you're not able to drop into that space where we call it the rest and digest or the feel and heal, the parasympathetic nervous system, and you're always in the sympathetic, your body actually will have a really hard time conceiving a baby, because its number one role at that point is to keep the mother alive and to keep the mother, we call it, safe. So it's that classic story about like the sympathetic nervous system is for when we were getting chased by a tiger and a lion. And, what actually happens is the other organs that are not a part of like keeping you alive, like flight, they all shut down and adrenaline runs into the organs that are available for us to run or to fight or to, freeze if that's what we need. So if your body is always in that state, you actually will have a hard time conceiving a baby, because your body is saying, wait, but I need to keep you alive. This is not the moment for us to conceive a baby. We're in a fearful situation here. Like, your body doesn't know that you're feeling that way because you're opening your your emails in the morning and it sent you into that, or if it's feeling that way because you're running away from a tiger and a really time to conceive a baby. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's the message that your body is being sent and that your womb is being sent. Like, this is not a situation right now like where we have the extra capacity and the extra nourishment and the extra life force to take on the huge role of conception and then growing this tiny, tiny little sesame seed that, you know, a baby starts out as in the womb and then grows and births. Your womb is only wanting to do that when the space is safe for it, when you're nourished, when you have the resources to be nourished within that process. So if you're in fight or flight all the time, it literally will keep saying, no. It's not the moment. We're running from a tiger here. Don't have time to be pregnant, you know. So that's a very simple way of putting it. That's how important nervous system work and looking at our nervous system and our patterns is to conception, you know. Yeah.
Wow. I recently got told by a psychic in a reading, and upon asking the question, like, is there anything I can do to support me coming into alignment with the future family and the man that I want to create that with? And all she said was prepare the home. And in this conversation, it brings a whole other new meaning to that. Like, yeah, nourishing, like, just myself from the inside out. And yeah, beautiful. What would you say to people who are fairly new to this work and understanding the importance of the nervous system? What are some things that are really supportive to begin to deepen relationship and support the nervous system to come into that rest and digest?
Yeah. If you're quite new to it, I would say don't go into it in a way that is going to make your nervous system more overwhelmed. Sometimes we can be like, whoa, I really feel that. I really feel what they're saying. I'm going to go and like research this and do that and do. And this, it comes from excitement and beauty, and that's amazing. And actually the best thing you can do is like, yeah, sure, if you want to read something about it, get a book, or if you want to get a herb. But the best thing is then like, okay, how does that actually feel in my body? How does a grounded, regulated space in my body where I'm actually present in, we call it like the lower parts of the body when we're not just up here, you know, how does it feel when I'm actually sitting in that space? And what can I do to enhance that or bring that more in my life, you know? And then it takes it from this thing where it's like, I need to go and research that and get all these things, and which can be great, but it can also be overwhelming. And it is also more sometimes stimulating. And we want to go back to like, when I drop down into my body, how does that feel? And what can I do in my everyday life that is going to bring that more? Is it like somehow working with the habit of like not picking my phone up every 2 seconds? Is it like, do I need to look at like what I'm having, how much, you know, how many cups of tea or coffee I'm having every day? That can be a big one, right? Like getting the body into an altered state. Can I actually simply just take a walk in the middle of my busy work day? And that brings the whole rest of my day into a much more relatable space with the nervous system where we're present within our body. So I really like the idea of bringing it down into those very basic parts of just like feeling that in the body, and then being very real with that self-reflection within your days and your habits, because it's these little things that we're doing and what we're choosing every day that is creating that ecosystem of our body and the ecosystem of our mind and our emotions. So yeah, I think if there's one thing, simplify it.
Beautiful said. Yeah. And I just, for those listening, want to really flag, like, we can get into spaces where our nervous system is addicted to a certain kind of state. And so it can be uncomfortable, and there can be a big part of us that's like, oh, I don't want to go there. That's like, I'm not used to that. I don't know what that is. And so, yeah, I encourage, if you feel like you can't do it on your own, seek out a facilitator that resonates. But also, like, I think there's an internal commitment to like want to continue to lean in despite the uncomfortability. That is really important for people to be like, cool, I'm just going to try and, like you said, show up each day and be like, hey, what does my body need right now to feel that sense of like settled. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, things like kinesiology, like what you do is such a beautiful way to be supported by someone else to come into that space. And you are beautiful, beautiful therapies and therapists that we can work with, because it can be really big when we first start dropping into the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for flagging. That's perfect.
Yeah. Nice. I imagine that like within the work that you're doing, it's such a sacred, sensitive, important thing. And I can feel the field of women around you that would come to you for your work. And it's, whatever state they're at, whether they're struggling to conceive and like the heart's just in that like intense longing, or, everywhere in between. Is there, like, if you were to tune into that field, is there something that can be said to those women's hearts who are on this journey? I know it's a big question, but I trust you tune in. Yeah, it's just I can feel them kind of in the background for me, and there's something there that wants to be acknowledged from heart to heart for people in that really sacred preparation, and perhaps for some people that like painful longing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is something that I always acknowledge within my work, is like that. It's interesting, when you first asked the question, I was like, oh, there's this part of fertility work and preconception that is like, we're talking about the body and imbalances and what we have to do. And I didn't actually get to that other part, but this ties it in so perfectly. It's like, we do this work over here that is creating a resilient and nourished body, mind, emotional space, so that we can hold the soul's journey. And that can be really hard sometimes to accept, that we really want to be able to have a formula that is like, here, I'm doing this, this, and this, so that will happen, a formula. And over here is the soul's journey that doesn't give a damn sometimes about your formula, and actually is bringing up lessons or bringing up experiences for you to have in this lifetime that your soul needs to have to play out a karmic, imprint, a karmic journey that needs to happen for the evolution of your soul. That can be really hard, Some women, and I see women that like, they're in such a good space in their body and in their health, and so is their partner. And yet there's this mystery over here. And the mystery is so entwined with conception and pregnancy and birth, especially. Like, we haven't really even, touched on birth, but the mystery of birth is incredible. So big. And we have to hold that space for that. We have to hold that space for the mystery within all parts of our life. And that longing for women can sometimes come from a really longing to conceive with their partner. And, they're on a much longer conception journey than they thought they would be. And that can be really hard. It can be a longing for some women of like wanting to meet their partner that they're going to conceive their baby. It can be a longing of, some women conceive and then, I've had an early birth, a miscarriage before my daughter, and that was mystery, and it was hard, and that was a soul lesson. There was something that my soul needed to experience there in the soul of that baby. So there's no set list of like what we're going to experience. And I think that is the most tender part of working with women. That I work with women in so much of their intimate stories, and with some of my like womb-Her clients and other work that I do, I work with women that have had really big birth stories as well, things not going that way, and yeah, really tender, intimate things that have happened and things that have played out. And it's always this question or this deepening into like, how can I hold that experience that I am having as a human in this life right now? That is not wrong. It's not, it's not like because I didn't do this or that. It's like a journey that my soul is on in this time. And it ties in with this work over here, which is, building the nourishment in the body, because we know that the better that, that the more flow of prana in our body, that is life force that is moving through us, the more, everything we've been talking about, the more nourished that we are within our body. We call it ojas in Ayurveda, which is like this nectar. It's literally a nectar in the body that's the essence of fertility and vitality. Like the more ojas that we have, the more that our nervous system is able to regulate, the better space we're in to be able to hold this part over here, which is the mystery. The mystery of life that is so present in these women's initiations. Like we used to have red tents and women's spaces that were set up and a part of the daily life that is just like in reverence and honor to this mystery over here. So the more that we are in this space, the better we're going to be able to hold that, feel what we need to feel, and also look at it and be like, okay, what's here for me? Like, what's the gold? What's the gold in the lessons, in the murkiness, Yeah.
Wow, that was I'm just so glad that we went there. So important, significant. It's all of it really. And yeah, it is the nature of the womb, like the being in that void of infinite possibility and equally nothingness. And I was just sharing, I was thinking it's so cool in different episodes, different womb gates, which is something I'm really passionate about sharing, often feature and come up depending on what we're talking about. And what was coming through then when you're sharing was the first womb gate is in the yoni lips, which anchors to the base of the nervous system and the thymus gland. But the vibrational key that unlocks it is trust. And without that trust, you can't go any deeper to really unlock within their full expression. You don't get to the second gate where she opens and lets you into the body without that trust. So yeah, and that's a real gift, and also practice to be in the strengthening of that. So yeah, that feels really beautiful with what you've shared.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. And it is about that trust, and that trust in the body, and again, like how we see that metaphysical part that you're just explaining, that you're just sharing. It's so metaphysically tied in with the physical, with that physical, like when we're holding that trust, and we can hold that trust for the divine. Ultimately, it's the trust and the faith in the divine and this experience that I'm having, and that literally can open our body. See that in birth and conception, but especially in birth, it's like that opening of the body is so correlated into trust as well.
Yeah. What I'm hearing too with you sharing is like, I feel like at each question I've kind of asked you, there's been this understanding of like creating the spaciousness to regulate and be in the listening, but also that is so much the nature of the feminine that we've just not really been taught how to do. A lot of us have had to figure it out on our own. But how come in that preparation, it also supports that being able to be in the deeper listening of the mystery too. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is like the part that I love the most.
Yeah.
It's like, even though there's these two sides of it, it's one journey and they support each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And curious if you could share, or if you feel open to sharing your own journey with this, because I know that it's seemingly you've had all the tools and still you've been initiated on a soul level in ways that I know that you didn't expect. Are you open to sharing about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I almost went into before. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to stick to I would love to share that. It's like this part where we're talking about the soul's, the mystery and the soul's, journey is like, I have had a really, really beautiful experiences within pregnancy and pretty easeful pregnancies and conceptions, and that part for me has been very quite easeful and enjoyable, and but the birth of my daughter, of Maya's, she's just over 2.5 now, that brought me so deep into the mystery that I ever thought I was going to go. When I was pregnant, everybody's like, of course you're going to have this not easy, but like, of course you're going to have a straightforward birth. You're so resilient and connected and, healthy. And I feel I am those things, so, I've always got more I can work with, but I felt, I was like, I feel good in my body. I feel ready for this. I feel strong. I feel soft. I feel resilient. And there was a myriad of so many things that came up right before my daughter's birth, that didn't create a space where I could really be within. I didn't have what I needed, basically, to feel safe, enough to be able to like really drop into that birth space. So I actually went to over 44 weeks with Maya, which is huge. Most people go for an induction, a couple of weeks earlier than that. I really wanted to trust her timing. And then I was in labor for a very, very long time. It was almost 5 days. It's under 5 days of very active labor. And in the end, my daughter was born through a cesarean. And now I can speak about it and understand like the deep, deep layers of lessons and ways that actually needed to happen. Ways that she was definitely choosing the path of the highest evolution for me, even though that is not what I wanted. And that's why I held on for so long without accepting any pain relief or drugs. I was like, no way, my baby's going to be birthed naturally for sure. Like, I was not holding any other reality in my mind. I never thought that it would go a different way, but she really needed to show me, and, spirit, the divine, needed to show me a different lesson that, played out, that gave me, I think, like, such a bigger initiation into motherhood. And obviously we always say you have the birth that you need to parent that child or to mother that child. That's like a saying, and I really feel that within Maya's birth is like, that was exactly what I needed to mother her. The spaces that took me after the birth, the grief of not having birthed her naturally, of not having a vaginal birth, the shame that came up, the the disconnection and the like of disbelief and the guilt, and the grief was just such a big one. Like the spaces that took me have initiated me into motherhood and into being a far more like, and I just get so emotional talking about it, like the woman I am now and the mother that I can be now for her, and the humility and the lessons and the way that that has shaped me. I couldn't have learned, and I wouldn't have saw those aspects of myself, those darker, deeper aspects that are really in the subconscious that are very hard to see unless something huge like that happens. Like I wouldn't have been able to see that aspect of myself had I just had that straightforward birth that I assumed and that everybody around me assumed that I would have had, and that I would love to have, and then I obviously would love to have with this baby, and I'm definitely calling him. But I know that she did that because she knew what I needed to learn and what I needed to see.
Mm.
And that was the biggest gift in the way that I haven't grieved at something like that in my life, but it was so much. It was such a gift that she gave to me, because I just wouldn't have been able to see those parts of me had it had gone the way I really wanted it to, and the way I was so determined to go through labor for that many days. Active labor was full on. Yeah. And that moment of signing those papers and choosing to for her to be birthed in that way, saying okay and accepting, that was like the biggest death moment in my life. You want to talk about like shattering identities and egos. It's like that moment for me was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I couldn't have held all of that. I feel that my preconception work was for that.
Mm-hmm.
With her, like I could not have held that. First of all, like even being able to be in labor that long and still standing up straight, and it says something for the health and vitality of the state of the body. But also like I couldn't have been able to hold those lessons and really experience what I needed to within her birth experience and after it, in the processing, the year or two after I was in deep processing of her birth story and the way that she chose to come into this world, and the way that my soul chose on another level as well. Had I not had so much nourishment and stores already within my body, it served me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's truly inspiring, and I'm sure like it's just so important to like understand, and so humbling, and wow. I can't even really fathom, to be honest. And I just, while you were talking, I just kept seeing like, wow, you're not just birthing your baby, you're literally rebirthing yourself as mother in that experience too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're birthing the mother. They say birthing the mother. You're not just birthing your baby, you're birthing the mother. So true.
I feel like we could do a whole other episode on birth. Like, I just barely scratched that surface. So in September when you're here, we should definitely into that with. And I'm not going to mention it. I'll mention it afterwards. There was something else brewing, and I was like, oh, do I go down that rabbit hole? I'm like, no, I could save that for next time. So before we close, I'd love to ask, what's something, if you, I love this question. If you were on your deathbed about to transition out of this life and you were offering your future children and your current daughter some life advice, something, a little anecdote to leave with them, what would you share? No pressure.
I mean, it sounds a bit cliche, but it's just so true. Like, always turn to nature. Time of need, you know? Yeah. In a way that you can allow yourself to be brought to your knees and feel her, you know? Always turn to nature, lean into her. Yeah.
I see you teaching your daughter that just by being. It like warms my heart so much every time I see the videos of you stripping leaves together or picking flowers out. Like, oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Such a gift that I get to experience in this lifetime is that connection of nature with my daughter. Yeah.
Makes me excited to be a mother. Yeah. And to close, what's on the horizon for you? Like, what ways can people work with you?
Yeah. Yep. Well, the main way that people can work with me right now is that I'm about to run another round of my signature program, which is called Foundations of Fertility. And it is a 12-week preconception, Ayurvedic preconception protocol that we do within a group. So we have a one-to-one at the start and we work out a personalized protocol. And then we have weekly sessions together as a group. And that is designed to take you in a specific way through a purification process of the body. So in Ayurveda, we work with purification and we cleanse the body and we let go of what is not serving on a, physical, like toxins level, right down to the emotional and metaphysical. And then the second phase is rejuvenation. So bringing in all this nourishment that we've been talking about, working with the, building ojas in the body that I was mentioning before. So it takes you right through that. And I guide the whole group through that. And that is starting on September 3rd. And I'm not sure when this will come out, but there's early bird until August 12th. And then
It'll come out this week.
Oh, nice. There might be a few days left if people listen to it straight away. But yeah, you can still enroll up until the very start of September. And it runs from September through till sort of late November. And it's beautiful. Like the last group I had, it was just so lovely and beautiful to journey together and to share that.
Yeah. What a special thing. Because, like, you have mothers groups once you have your kids, but to like create that sisterhood before you've even conceived is, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It is a really beautiful aspect of it is the group work and being alongside other women in that container. So that is, I guess, like the most prominent way that, people can work with me right now. I do have like a little bit of space open for one-to-one as well before I go into the birth zone in December for myself. So yeah, you can also reach out. I have just opened up a school called Ritu, School of Ayurveda and Womb Care. And what will be on the horizon for that is like more group work, more conversations around these phases of a woman's life, the seasons and the cycles. And I have a real vision to bring in other facilitators and just create, I just have so many epic women around me, but I'm like, I want to create a platform for all of them to come in and share. So that's on the horizon. But for now, it's Foundations of Fertility. And then on the horizon is me birthing in late December, whenever baby Ira decides to come earthside. So
I'm excited to be a sibling.
yes. She's laying in bed this morning and she thinks that she can touch the baby through my belly button. He's trying to touch it and give it kisses only right on the belly button. Oh, morning, baby. And she made me put her blanket around her like a baby carrier and put her doll in there and she was, she says she's going to share her potty with the baby and like,
Oh, she's going to be such a good big sister.
she has a Cancer ascendant and Cancer moon.
Yeah.
So I'm really seeing that come out. I'm like, okay, hello, mother. Yeah.
Oh, so gorgeous. Yeah. She's kind of on the money, like kissing the baby through the umbilical cord. That is completely cuts out.
I know I didn't say anything about the belly button, but she's like, yep, there. She's like, I'm touching.
That's amazing. So, I was just thinking my earliest memory is of my sister being born, picking her up from the hospital. Yeah, it's a really beautiful moment.
How beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, my love. This was, really, really wonderful and juicy. I'm so excited to share with the world. And it just feels there's like an intimateness and a tenderness to this conversation in a really rich but also raw way for some people. So I just want to celebrate you for doing the work that you do. And I know I've said this to you recently, but to me, you really embody just like the divine mother just through the way that you exist and show up and share space and life with your daughter. It's truly inspiring. And the parts of me that are terrified of stepping into that feel soothed by watching you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, my love. Thank you so much for mirroring that back to me. It really means so much. And I just adore you. And it's been so wonderful to have this conversation and to have an opportunity to share and also share those raw and vulnerable parts because, we're all connected through those. Each woman, parts we're all connected through is that rawness.
Yeah. So thank you to share our stories. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Soul Fam, that's it for this episode. If there was someone you were thinking of throughout that you think would get a lot from listening to it, then please share far and wide so we can all support each other on our journey of thriving. And if you are loving the show, please take a moment to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. This helps in a huge way to grow the show and help it reach more people. And finally, if you'd like to connect, jump on my Instagram and shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you there. That's it from me today, and until next time.